I know a lot of you have been hearing the buzz around BOI reporting, or beneficial ownership information reporting. And we are coming to the end of 2024, and this is starting to become more of a buzz. You're probably starting to get emails from different companies saying, hey, you've got to file this. And you might be thinking like, do I need to file this? What is this thing? I have no idea. Is this a scam? I know when I first heard about it, I was a little bit like, what is this? People are telling me to go to some random website that I'd never heard of and put in a lot of sensitive information about my company and send it off to the government. I don't know. So what this video is about today is I'm going to break down what is BOI reporting, who needs to be paying attention to this. Hint, that's everyone, small business owners, but I'm going to tell you about the exceptions and who does not need to report. And then I'm also going to go through some of the logistics that you need to know about so you can comply with this requirement of the government. And I'm going to tell you some things that you need to know about. So this video is really all about helping you understand what is BOI reporting and what do you need to know and how to take action for your small business. Now, next week, I'm going to do another video about actually filing one of these reports, and I'm going to go through it with my new company. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step of how to do this. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Before we get into it, I want to tell you about today's video sponsor, and that is Relay. Relay is a business banking platform completely online, and it is built with all the needs of the small business owner in mind. Some of the things that I love the most about Relay is that first, I will never have to go into a branch to do anything. I can set up accounts in seconds just online by just creating a new one real quick. I love the fact that they have no monthly fees whatsoever. And then I also am very excited about the fact that you can put, now I don't have this much money in my bank account yet, but you can have up to $3 million in FDIC insurance with your deposits with Relay. So definitely, if you want to learn more, go and check out information about Relay by going to claracfo.com/relay. And you can also set up an account. And when you deposit $100 or more, Relay will match your first $100. So you'll get a free $100 when you set up an account using claracfo.com/relay. So first of all, what is BOI reporting? We have to report beneficial ownership information to the government. So why do we need to do this? In 2021, Congress passed the Corporate Transparency Act. So that law basically created this requirement to report beneficial ownership information. And so I'm going to read this to you guys because why is a question that we're all still asking, especially in the business world. But this goes to the government's efforts to make it harder for bad actors to hide or benefit from their ill-gotten gains through shell companies and other opaque ownership structures. So the reason that all of us are having to pay attention to this beneficial ownership information reporting is because there are some bad guys out there doing shady stuff with their companies. And this is supposed to bring to light all of those bad actors. But jury is still out on whether or not those bad actors are going to be reporting properly on this program. So we will see. But until then, until we know that we don't have to do this, the point is that we have to do this. I will say that I'm going to get into the timing of reporting requirements and things like that. There are going to be penalties for it, and I'll get into that as well. But first of all, what is beneficial ownership? How do we know who's a beneficial owner for a company? So what you need to know about beneficial ownership is anybody would be considered a beneficial owner if they have substantial control over a company. And so this usually means if you're in leadership and you have decision-making power on your own. So there are some nuances, and I am going to link some resources in the description box below so you can go and really dig in. If you're really not sure about one person, if they should be considered a beneficial owner or not, you can go in there and there's some guidance that will help you figure out whether or not you have a beneficial owner. So two things that can make you a beneficial owner is that you have that substantial control over a business, or you have equity or some type of ownership in that business. At least 25% or more is what they want to have reported. So when you go to really think about who could be a beneficial owner, for most of us, our small businesses, this can be really easy because it might just be the business owner who runs the business, and maybe they don't have any other partner or any other member of their LLC or their S Corp or a partnership, and it's just going to be them and their very clearly, there might be the president, CEO, and the owner. And so the beneficial owner in those situations will be just that one person. Now, when you start to have other potential equity members, maybe you have a partnership with multiple members, or you have an S Corp with multiple members, it can get a little bit more complicated, but that 25% above threshold will really help give you guidance there. And again, there's more guidance in the description box below, and I'll put some resources there for you. So if you really are having a hard time trying to figure out that, you can go to those resources, and it does help kind of walk you through that. The other thing about substantial control is if you have a leadership team that can kind of act independently. So maybe you have a president, but then you also have a CFO or CEO, CFO, and that CFO has the ability to make decisions on behalf of the company, and they, can make decisions in a silo. They could potentially be a beneficial owner as well. So you need to kind of scrutinize anybody in leadership as well. But for most of us, for small businesses, if they don't have any kind of equity, they really don't have a lot of control. So that's something to consider. Okay, so beneficial ownership, hopefully we're clear on that. You need to have substantial control, or you need to have more than 25% of equity, or something that is like essentially equity. So now we get into who needs to report. So good news for all you sole proprietors out there, or freelancers, or people who have never registered as a company with your Secretary of State. You are basically going to be exempt from BOI reporting. So if you are a freelance graphic designer and you just work here and there and you're operating under yourself, like your person, and you have a sole proprietorship, and like if I was just Hannah Smolinski as a random CFO who did some work for people here and there, and I used my social security number to give that person a W-9, and they're paying me just as an individual, and I don't have any kind of company set up with the Secretary of State, then I do not have to worry about filing this thing. So a lot of you will be like, okay, good. I'm all good. I operate as a sole proprietorship. I've never registered with my state as a company. And so you can basically not watch the rest of this video if you don't want to. Although I'd love to have you watch this video. It's good for the algorithm when you watch longer videos. But, basically you don't need to do anything. So that is great for you. However, for anybody who does have some kind of company or corporation or entity that has ever been registered with the Secretary of State as a domestic company, you are going to have to pay attention to these rules. Now, you could also potentially be a foreign company that has been registered in another country somewhere, but if you're doing business in the United States, you might also have to report. Now, there are a whole series of types of institutions and companies that are exempt. So they might be a company, a domestic reporting company. That's what they call it. Domestic reporting company is any company formed in the U.S. that has been formed at a Secretary of State. And then a foreign reporting company would be one that has been registered out of the United States, but is doing business in the United States. So there are some types of entities that even if they have been registered with the Secretary of State, they might still be able to be exempt. So oftentimes, if that type of company is under some other level of scrutiny and from the government, then oftentimes they're not going to have to report this BOI reporting. So for example, I'm going to read you some of those. Securities reporting issuer, a government authority, a bank, a credit union, a deposit institution, broker-dealer, security exchange and clearing agencies, investment company, venture capital funds, insurance companies, state licensed insurance providers, commodity exchange, registered entity, an accounting firm, but that has to be a public accounting firm, public utility, financial market utility, tax-exempt entity. So if you are a nonprofit, you need to read the details, which I'm going to put below, but you're probably not going to need to report. And then any kind of large operating company, which has certain criteria to be able to meet that. So if you think you are any one of those, most people watching this video are not going to be. Accounting firms, a lot of you are going to perk up and say, ooh, maybe I don't have to file. But when you look at the definition of what an accounting firm is, it is a public company or a public accounting firm. And so you need to be registered in a certain way to be able to satisfy that. So go to the document that I have linked below, which is called the BOI Small Compliance Guide. If you think you could be under any of those, and there's going to be check marks to say, do I comply, yes or no, to these specific criteria. So go through those if you think any of those might apply to you. So what this means is that most of us as a small business community are going to need to report. So if you're an LLC of any type, and you are just kind of a basic little company, just one person owner, yes, this applies to you. So other things you need to know. Where do we report this? So if you type in BOI reporting right now into Google, what's going to happen is all these ads are going to pop up to get you to go to different places to pay some other company to register for you on your behalf. You do not need to do that. This is a free filing if you go to the right website. So what the website is, it is Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, FINCEN.gov. And the website you're going to go to, I'm going to put it here below so we can see it. It's fincen.gov, FINCEN.gov/BOI. So if you go to that page, you can register through there. And then again, next week, we're going to have a video where I show you actually how to do that. So stay tuned for that. But that is the correct website. Do not just Google it and click on the first link because you're going to get caught paying for something. Another big red flag is if you think that you're on the FinCEN website and you're doing this, and then a payment portal pops up for you to pay for these services, you're going to be like, oh, this is not the FinCEN website because I should not be having to pay. Okay, so just FYI. Now let's talk about when you need to report. So for any business that was formed before January 1 of 2024, you need to file this report by January 1, 2025. So you had a year from when they kind of started opening up this ability to file. You have a year to do so. So January 1, not like a year from now that you're hearing about it, but a year from January 1, 2024. So you must file by January 1, 2025 if you were in existence before 2024. Now, if you formed your company during 2024, you have 90 days to file. So I actually just formed my new entity, and I formed it on October 11th, 2024. So I would have 90 days, which would be after January 1st of 2025. I have 90 days to make that happen. But I'm going to register my company right in front of you guys with next week, so I will have it done way ahead of time. Now, for any new companies that are started after 2025, it's going to be a mandatory requirement that within 30 days, you need to file BOI. Your BOI information. So people are going to go to the Secretary of State, do their thing, and then they're going to have to quickly jump over and register their company with the FinCEN as well. So that's going to be good to know. And you do need to have some things to be able to do this. So what do you need to report and what do you need to have ready? You're going to have to put government issued ID, and you're going to have to actually take a picture of it or have some kind of scan and upload that for any of your beneficial owners. Also, anybody who is filing on your behalf, I believe, potentially as well. So we're going to walk through that. So you need to have copies of IDs. I would have your Secretary of State report available for you. So if you are questioning what you actually had put, if it's been a while and you're not exactly sure, you can go and find your Secretary of State filing, which is usually publicly available information, and you will want that when you're actually going to file. And then lastly, you are going to have an EIN. You're going to need a tax ID or an EIN number, so make sure you have that as well. Okay, I already mentioned there's no fee to file if you go to the right place. So that is the majority of what you need to know about BOI reporting. Again, next week, I'm going to walk you through an actual example. And if you want to gather all this information up and actually have it ready so you can kind of go side by side with me as I walk through this process, that would be fantastic. And you can get it done and get it done way before the end of the year so you don't have to stress. If you are getting notifications and people contacting you and saying, hey, you need to file your BOI report, blah, 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 I want you to know you can pay people to do it. There are lots of services that can help you. Your lawyer, if you're already engaged with a lawyer, this might be something they have reached out to you and just said, hey, can we do this for you? You know, this is really just about you deciding, does it make sense to outsource it, or is it something that you just want to do yourself? If you already are engaged with a lawyer or an accountant who wants to do this for you, it's something they can do. I think the benefit of having a lawyer do it is they have access to all of your legal documents. They might be doing your annual report anyway, so they don't have to ask you a lot of questions to get this done. If you are paying a service, you're going to have to give that service all the information like you would exactly put it in directly into the FinCEN website. So that's where I just don't see there being a lot of value add of having somebody else do this or paying a service to do that, because you're going to have to give all that same information to this entity in order for them to go and put it into the FinCEN website for you. So, think about your time. Is it really going to be worth your time if you're having to duplicate, you would have to give all that information one way or another? Just decide whether or not you want to outsource it if it makes sense to do so. Accountants are going to be potentially reaching out, asking if they can do this for you. Totally okay if you're willing to pay for it. Don't pay a lot because it's a very simple process for the most part if you don't have a lot of beneficial owners. That's what you should think about. Now, if you don't file, what are the penalties? I think that's important to know. If you don't file, it's $591 per day that you are delinquent. I think it's per day, with a max fine of up to $10,000. So no need to do that. Let's go ahead and get it done. Yeah, I think that's everything you guys need to know. Let me know if you have questions below. Check out the resources in the description box, and stay tuned for next week where I actually show you how to do this for yourself. All right, thanks guys, bye.